Well guys, welcome to this new section all about the soundtrack, and we've only been talking about the video and image, but as I said in the beginning of this course, the big forgotten part is the soundtrack. So don't underestimate this, okay? So the first thing we want to do is of course go to the tab of the media pool right here and go to the sound effects and music that we just created in the beginning. So we're gonna be using a song. I give you a bunch of them. I don't know, for example, let me listen to this.
No need to repeat, run up on me, watch you.
Okay, let's take for example this song to start, and I'm gonna tell you a few examples. And I've taken these songs from Artlist. Okay, Artlist is a platform which delivers good quality music by artists that are not really known, and it has no copyright. I mean, it does have a copyright, but I'm paying a monthly fee on Artlist so that I can use those songs. And for you, they are free. Of course, I give you them for free. You don't have to pay. But very quick, you gotta be careful with the song that you apply on a project or on a video if you want to publish that later. For example, you cannot use a, I don't know, Justin Bieber song and upload this video to YouTube, because YouTube is gonna say, hey, what are you doing? The song has a copyright, so I'm gonna turn down your video. So you wanna either go to free and Creative Commons songs or music that are free for everyone to use, or this kind of websites like Artlist, Epidemic Sound, and all of them, where you pay a monthly fee and they give you the permission to use their songs always for free. You don't pay for each song or for a copyright to be publishing that, okay? So just as a tip, be careful with all this copyright stuff. And yeah, let's say for example, it goes the same way as on a video. We have this right here, and let's say for example we want the song to be starting for whatever reason we want the song to be starting right here. So we can hit I on the keyboard and for example until there, the O, and we can drag this down and we have the song starting right at where we chose it. So there's this in and out, that the same way you can do it on the video, you can also do this of course and the audio. And then here comes my recommendation, okay, because this is important. There are two ways again to do this, and my recommendation is always to sync to the music. I mean, pretty much any audiovisual piece of art that you will find out there that has music or songs or sound effects, they are of course synced at some point to the beat, to where the drums hit, to where the guitar starts or whatever, right? They're always synced. And there are people that start editing their video and then apply the song afterwards, and for me this is kind of hard, because what I like doing is doing it the other way, the opposite way. First the music and the song, and then adding all the clips according to the beat. This is no right or wrong, you can do it both ways, just test them out. But I must say, usually I do projects, right? So either the client gives me a specific mood song or whatever, or if I have to do it myself, even before filming, I go through all of the possibilities that I have. I start testing songs in my head, and most of the time, I'd say 99% of the time, I have a specific song already before even filming. This may sound stupid, but the way I'm gonna film is gonna be adapted to that song too and all that, but well, this is a little bit more advanced. The thing is, I'm saying, use the song first, this is my recommendation, and then add the clips on top of that song and sync them to the song. And this is the easy way to put a song on the timeline and then just adding to the beat. And it's actually the best way to learn, I think. And let me show it to you quickly. So I took this song, I gave you a few different types of songs, right? One was rock music, another one was, I don't know, some rap beat. So feel free to do whatever you want. Let's see how this looks.
What told the future? Who knows? I don't do it for the likes.
Okay, let me quickly take the whole song. So I didn't do it before, and now we have the full song. The full song would be something.
Everywhere I go, the people.
Okay, we want the song to start right here. Same as we did on the video, you can also drag here and get to the beginning of the song, right?
Everywhere I go.
We zoom in a little bit, we see that now it would be to the beat, so the song starts right where the clip starts, okay?
Everywhere I go, the people.
And for example, the beat goes bum. Here we can do another. I'm gonna do this very quick. This is not necessarily the final version, okay? And every time that we have a beat, I'm just gonna put a different and a new clip, okay? So this is gonna be looking something like, for example, this. Let's see.
Everywhere I go, the people really wanna know who I is and who I be. They stop and stare when they see me. If I said it once, no need to repeat. Run up on me, watch you fall to your knees. Tip my hat.
Okay, it kind of looks already. It
Wanna
does.
know who I is and who I be. They stop and stare when they see me. If I said it once, no need to repeat. Run up on me, watch you fall to your knees.
Yeah, it goes more or less to the beat, and we start having some kind of nice video, right? And then a few things that I want to show you before we actually start doing our project and everything. Let's zoom in here. Let's make this a little bigger so that we have a better view. Now, you see this white line. I don't know, let me try to show it to you. You see this white line right here. This white line is the volume. It is by default at 0.0 dB, but by clicking, there you go. But by clicking it up, you can make it louder, and by bringing it down, you can bring the volume down. Now, usually I always tend to go -3 to -6 dB, just to, I don't know, I have the feeling that the music is always too loud.
Everywhere I go,
See, if I bring it down to -16,
the people really wanna know who
it goes super quiet. So to change the volume, this is a good way to do it for the whole track. There's also the way, of course, we can do it in the inspector right here. We have the volume. You can, look at this, do the same thing. You can pan it left or right. For example, you just want to have the music on the left. Look at this.
I is and who I be. They stop and stare.
Okay, so this will entirely depend on your preferences. You can also have an equalizer, which we're going to be talking in the next lecture when we go through the sound effects. There's actually a way to make like the famous cross dissolve. If, for example, the music starts too strong
Everywhere I go,
and you want it gradually coming in, we can see this white thing here, this white marker. We can take it like this, look at this, and then we'll see what happens.
everywhere I go, the people really want.
See that it comes gradually in, and then you can, of course, take this white dot and smoothen it out and do it all the way you want.
Everywhere I go, the people really want to know.
Isn't that amazing? I just love this kind of effects. I love them. So there's a way to smoothen it out gradually, or for example, at the end of the video, let's say that your song ends like this. Wait. This would be terrible because the song just ends very abruptly, right? So we do the same, and we start a few seconds before doing this, gradually going down. For example, like this. This is amazing. See? This is a very easy way to play around a little bit with your sound. And of course, a soundtrack can get very complex if we start putting sound effects, pans, sound transitions and all that, but I'm going to be using just a couple of engine sounds that will give it some nice touch. And my tip here is for you to test it and repeat and explore the possibilities of sound music on your videos. And trust me, there are professional people that just work on soundtracks, as you can understand, so the possibilities are limitless. Now let's go into the sound effects. Well guys, sound effects are pretty simple, but again, possibilities are limitless. So when we're here, I told you at the inspector you can do the basic things, but we also have inside the effects tab, of course, audio effects, right? Fairlight effects and VST effects. The VST effects, maybe you don't even have this one. This is an effect that I installed myself, so don't worry. Fairlight effects, you have pretty much all the effects you need. For example, modulation, you have reverb, you have anything that you would be using. Now, these things are interesting, especially if you have a voice over or something like this, or an off voice or stuff like that. On a song, you won't be using them too much, but there's a few things that I can show you, actually, a few tips. For example, if we go to the shot that we had before, let me mute this a sec so that I can find this shot, for example, where we have all our speed ramps. See that it goes, oh, we still have this hold on, this directional blur. Let me turn this up. For example, here we have this moment where it goes in slow-mo, right? So let's imagine that we have the song right here, like this.
Silent power moves is what I'm giving. They love to hate the world they can't live in.
And we want to give it a little touch right at the part where it is in slow-mo, right? It would be from, I'd say more or less from here. So we use our blade and we cut the song right here
Silent power moves is what I'm giving. They love to hate the world they can't live
until here where the regular speed comes back again. Now we have this part, and for example, this is very simple. It's a trick. We really want to have the song in that part some, you know, without the higher frequencies to give it a little bit more of a feeling. So we hit the equalizer and, for example, let's take off these frequencies. Let's see how it sounds.
what I'm giving. They love to hate the world they can't live in. Always
Okay, look at this, look at this. I just made a few changes here. I increased a little bit the lower frequencies and I completely deleted the higher frequencies, okay? So, look at this.
prosperity. Silent power moves is what I'm giving. They love to hate the world they can't live in. Always present.
It's a nice touch. You can do this a little bit even more like this. Hold on. Like this.
What I'm giving. They love brought me next level prosperity.
I think it's nice. You can play around with this. But what's the problem here? We have the same problem that we had before on the speed ramps, that we're coming from a normal song into a completely edited part of the song, so we want to smoothen this a little bit out. So we can go into the audio transitions and have a crossfade, for example, 0 dB, and we apply this on both parts of the clip. Look at this now. Much better. Look at this. Look at this. Amazing. I really love it. So you can smooth out. So what you want to do is always adapt both video and image to give the viewer a great experience. You can be, as I'm saying, as creative as you want, but just whenever you're editing is also an art. It's not just making a few cuts here and there and smashing a song on top of it. The montage, the edit has a purpose. So think a little bit of this and think how you can make a video more pleasant to the viewer, okay? Davinci has become very popular in the past few years because of its powerful color tools. People have been talking only good things about the workflow, the ease of use, and the endless possibilities with this software. Davinci's Color tab is a super advanced tool. I'll be making a whole separate course only about color. In this course, as it's a beginner course, I'm going to show you the basics so you understand how it works, and I'll give you all the tools to put out a great video. The most important thing I want you to understand is the difference between color correction and color grading, and why the correction must come before the grading. Color correction is not a mistake. I mean, it's not like I should have avoided this or that when I was filming. Color correcting is an essential part of editing, and because we're constantly shooting different types of shots, the sun moves, we change camera angles, and we have small screens, we want eventually all of our footage to be corrected, balanced, and equal. In color correction, we talk mainly about three things: exposure, contrast, and color balance. Simple, right? Well, after this process we may add our LUTs, our looks, or any other presets we do have. Color correcting will be the key difference to have something good looking. You'll be going from just someone that films and smashes a teal and orange LUT on top of it to someone that actually knows how to do something cinematic, good, and balanced. Now let's start inside Davinci. Yes, I know. This is the first time probably that you see this, and it makes you a little bit dizzy. You get dizzy. It looks like an airplane cockpit, right? But don't worry, same as the airplane cockpit, it really looks way more complicated than what it truly is. And I'm going to show you all the different parts right now, from left to right again, and you'll see that it's not as complicated as you think. Now, the first thing is we have here our LUTs, or the media pool. We're going to be working with LUTs because we're in the color tab, right? And you have LUTs that come predefined and by default on DaVinci. LUTs, I'm gonna be talking about the LUTs in the next lecture, what they are, how to use them and everything, but you have some preset LUTs, for example for DJI, different drone color profiles and everything. Don't worry too much about this, just remember that you have the LUTs tab and the different LUTs in here. Now, we have right here all of our clips. If you don't see them, make sure to click here on clips. Maybe the timeline is appearing. The timeline right now bothers me a little bit because I don't really need it right here, so I'm gonna turn it off and leave the clips, because this way we can have a nice overview of the different clips that we are editing. Down here, all these crazy colored things. Well, we're gonna be talking about this one here. These are the primaries, the color wheels, and maybe later also on the log wheels, which have shadows, midtones, and highlights. But basically, we're going to be talking about how to lift the shadows, how to play a little bit around with the midtones, and how to play a little bit with the highlights. Don't worry, we're going to be going into detail in the grading lecture about this. So it's just things that we're going to be playing around to get to the point where we want. Waveform. If it's still very different, we go into the three dots right here and we go into the waveform scale style, leave it at 10-bit or 8-bit, I don't know what you have, but don't go into 12-bit. We hit this adjustment settings and you may have it something like RGB or something, I'm not sure. Just go into the Y, deselect colorize if you have it colorized, and you can play a little bit around with the amount of waveform and gradical you are watching. So make sure that you see something very similar to this. Okay, we still have this little nice part here, which is going to be the notes. If you don't have it, just make sure to click on notes. This is where we will be creating all our different steps in order to color correct and color grade. Again, we're going to be going into the detail in the next lecture about this. And finally, of course, a preview screen, which is super easy to understand. It's a preview screen of what we are editing. And for example, in case we're editing something, it will be automatically applied on here. Oh, look at this. We have a nice LUT. Preview of the LUT. You can see how it changes everything. This is a nice preview. Okay, so now let's finally start and do the first color correction. Well, hello guys, and welcome to this color correcting section and lecture. I know some of you are really excited about this one. I am excited as well because I'm really excited to teach this. And today we're working with notes. As I told you in the previous lectures, the color tab is so powerful because we can work with notes. Notes are actually really simple. We can create some new notes by hitting Alt-S, and basically you have to imagine this being a timeline of the clip. So notes are read from left to right, which means that the changes you do on the first note will come first, then the second changes that you do on the second note will come later. This is quite important because, as I was saying in the beginning, and if you listen carefully, it's not the same to color or color grade your footage before or after color correcting it. Okay, and I'm saying this because let me quickly show it actually to you. If I would I think one of the LUTs that you have on your free PDF that I gave you and you download is the Menorca, and we can apply this on the first note, and even though it looks a little bit better than before, it still looks like garbage. It's too flat, it's washed out, it's not saturated, there's missing contrast, it's not looking good. But let me show you very quickly. If I color correct this and then I color grade it after this with the same LUT, which is Menorca, you'll see the difference in a second. Now we're talking, guys. Now you look, it's different. The blacks are really black. We have a little bit more of, you know, color. It's more saturated. It looks overall super good. And the same goes for the Kansas. Kansas, the Kansas one is a little bit more exaggerated. Let me put this down a little bit. We'll go through this later anyway, so don't worry once we grade. But I wanted to show you the difference from this and what we saw before, right? So let's go step by step. So we're gonna reset everything, and let's start. Okay, let's create a new node, right? This one and another one, because today we're going to be working with two nodes. Okay, we're going to be using the first one as color correction. So let me name it. Let's say correction. Okay, and the second one we're going to be naming it color. Okay, for the color grading that we'll do in the next lecture. But for now, I need you to understand a few things from the color correction so that you guys can do this process the right way and make an amazing output. So in the case of our shots here today, they were shot in a very, very flat profile. I think you can see this. I'm not trying to get too technical, but you can clearly see that all the shots are desaturated. You know, they're missing saturation, they're less contrasted, and overall super flat. I mean, you know that this doesn't look good. And I do think that the color correction and the color grading should always be done the very last thing, once your whole video edit is done and edited and adjusted to the music and everything. So what we're gonna do today is, as I'm saying, fixing this before color grading it. There's only actually one way to color correct properly your shots. This isn't like subjective like the color grading where you can do whatever you want. You know, you can put some more blues, some more reds in it. No, color correction means bringing the image to a point where all the shots that are coming look the same way. They are correctly exposed, they have the right light, they have the right highlights, the right shadows, the contrast is correct. And as I'm saying, this was shot with the Sony a7S III, that's the camera that I use, in a very flat profile. Okay, we can do this two ways. First, manually, like playing around with the highlights, midtones, the contrast, and the shadows. And let me quickly show this to you, okay? So in this case, for example, we would go down here. And you remember the waveform that I told you before? This is a visual representation of the light that is on our image, okay? So as we can see here, what you want to do is always have this as broad from 0 to 100% as you can, okay? And right now we can see that this is very flat, this is very low. We need to get those highlights up, and these lines here, if this dots would touch the 0, this would mean we have pure black in the image, and if they touch 100%, the top line, it would be pure white. And we need to move in between 0 and 100. The best thing is always try not to touch it, like stay at 5% and 95% or so, but let's do it. So the lift or the shadows, as you can see this black dot, will talk about the shadows. If we move this, look at this. You see how it affects the image and how it affects the waveform. So it's a good start to bring this a little bit down to try to get our blacks really black. Now, you see the difference? They are gray now, but if we change it right here, they are more black, and we're gonna be touching this. Now, the midtones, we wanna put them a little bit up so that we have the, as I'm saying, the visual waveform a little bit more expanded. And now let's go to the highlights, because this is where there's most of the game in this case to do. Now, what we just did was try to a little bit expand this waveform and to put the shadows, the highlights, and the midtones. Now the offset, this one, would mean that if you have a super dark image, we can take all shadows, midtones, and highlights and bring them and make them lighter. Okay, as you can see the waveform, it moves the whole thing. But for now, we're good like this. Okay, now we're gonna put some contrast. Okay, so contrast is changed here, which says contrast. Let's increase a little bit the contrast. See how the waveform expands? This is what we're looking for, to a certain point, not too much. But now you can see we're closer to 0, we're closer to 100. Here is, this part is probably the glass of the car, and it's almost touching 100. So this is almost white and blown out. We're close to what we're looking. Okay, and also in color correction, one of the things that comes into the game is the temperature of the color, temperature of the shot. This can be either bluish or either more warm and orangey, okay? So sometimes, you know, when you are filming outside and you run inside, you see suddenly everything very yellowish and all that, and this is fixed by the temperature. Let me show it. See, we can go from very cold tones to very warm tones. And again, we're not color grading, we're still color correcting. So this would be Let's bring it back to 0. And there's a nice tool here, which is the color temperature picker, in this case the white balance. And if for a fact we know and we have some white in the image, for example, it was a very cloudy day, the reflections of the glass were pure white, so I can take this tool, click on this, and it will automatically correct me. The white balance that I put that day was pretty accurate. It just moved to -2.5, which is fine. Right now I see some of the highlights a little bit too blown out, and for specific, I don't really want to get too much in detail, but we have also the primaries, which are really helpful because, as you can see, shadows, midtones, and highlights, and we can here just touch the highlights and just touch the midtones. And as you can see on the waveform, it isolates pretty much, if I'm touching the midtones, it isolates the highlights and the shadows. So there's a little bit, you can be a little bit more accurate here, okay? But for now, I do think that we have a pretty decent image. And there's missing still a little bit of saturation, okay? So let us increase here the saturation to get this really real red of the Ferrari, right? More or less something like this. Now, I really want you to see the difference, See the difference? By hitting Alt and D, we can bypass this. And we went from here. This is what we were looking at before. Everything, the whole course, we've done it with this. It didn't look so bad, right? But once we color corrected, look at how awesome it looks right now. And still, I think the highlights are a little bit blown. We can just try to get down a little bit this and increase a little bit the contrast. So, isn't this just crazy? So we just color correct this in a manual way. Once you learn how to do this and you play with the waveforms and you kind of look at more and more footage and you learn how to do this is pretty quick, okay? In a minute you can do this. However, I gotta say the second way of doing this is, let me very quick reset this. Many cameras or drones, and well, the manufacturers actually of those brands, they release LUTs, color correcting LUTs. And what they do is they just transcode it so that from a very flat profile, you get a very nice and color corrected image. So for example, Sony gives us this 4 LUTs that once you apply them, look at this, we already have it color corrected. It's a little bit dark for my in my opinion, but we can, as I told you, the offset goes, shadows, midtones, and highlights will bring everything up. So you see, with just applying 1 LUT, we can get to the point where we wanted. Why, you may ask yourself, why would I be shooting in flat profile? Well, very basically and easily explained, when I'm shooting in a flat profile, technically the camera gains more information because it has more midtones, more gray areas, so they can interpret it later in post, later in a software we can interpret much better the colors. It's a little bit, you don't really have to do this if your camera does not have it anyway. Let's say that professional film and professional filmmakers, we like doing it in a flat profile because we gain a little bit more information for the sensor. However, if we do this, we have to manually color correct it because the camera is not doing it automatically for us. So Sony in this case has given us these different LUTs. As you can see, they are a little bit different, but they color correct your image in a good way. Here, for example, DJI does this too for some of its flat profiles from the drones. They are very similar, all of them, but yeah, we're using the Sony. And as I'm saying, the LUT is not magic. You still have to adjust it, as I had to adjust a little bit the offset, which is the exposure of the image because it was too dark. So don't think that LUTs are gonna make your life instantly much easier. It's true that they do to a certain point, but there are still some tweaks here and there that you gotta do, okay? And now that we have a well-corrected shot, let me try to make this a little bit bigger so you can enjoy this amazing Ferrari a little bit better. Now it's time to color grade, guys. So let's go. Hello guys and welcome to the color grading lecture, probably the one that you're expecting the most and the one that excites me as well the most to teach, like the one before. So color grading, dear friends, is an art. It's pure art. It's can be really complicated, it can be really simple. And as I said before, this is entirely subjective. Some people like it one way, some others like it the opposite way. For example, typical Michael Bay movie has a very teal and orange colors, classic Hollywood style. And for example, Almodovar saturating reds and giving that sepia old style color to his movies. So it's entirely subjective. You're free to do whatever you want. There is no right or wrong. Nobody can tell you, hey, this is wrong, because it is what you and just you like. This is entirely up to you. It gives the look, it gives the mood, and the final touch to a full experience for the viewer. This is very important. As I'm saying, Almodovar has a very unique style, and there are so many directors out there that have unique styles, and this is just personal, okay? Again, same as before, we have two ways to do this. Either tweaking everything manually, which we'll do in a second, or going the easy way and just applying some LUTs. Here, of course, I would recommend you to experiment and do all changes here and there and play with the graphs and play with the curves and everything. But I know it can be complicated and frustrating, at least in the beginning. And most of us filmmakers, we do use our own LUTs most of the time, because we have a certain experience of many projects and different situations, and more or less we know what kind of LUT and what kind of style will apply to each one of those shots and projects. And so yeah, we do use shortcuts, but still, as I'm saying, every single video needs specific changes and specifics that you have to do. LUTs are basically, well, it stands for lookup tables, and they're basically a shortcut file to certain changes and tweaks in color that you can apply to a shot. Inside my creator free bundle you already downloaded, as I told you before, there were two LUTs, Kansas and Menorca. And Kansas being a very cold and dark LUT, and Menorca totally the opposite, closer to the classic teal and orange. And these are shortcuts to a certain look that you can apply on top of an entire video to give it that final look in just 2 seconds. So very easily said. In this case, for example, Menorca, right? We're gonna apply it on the second note. Look at this. I don't know if this warm look is the right look for a video, in this case of the mountains and all that. This LUT would look nice if you're in a beach or something like this, but I don't have the feeling that it really fits too good. However, the Kansas gives us this cold, mountainy look, right? So let me apply the Kansas, okay? And as you can see, the image is a little bit blown, so we gotta correct it a little bit back, as I told you before. We go with the offset a little bit down, and yeah, it looks a little bit better now. This is powerful. Even though I think the one that I liked the most was my Athens LUT, because still Kansas, look at the difference of the road. The Kansas is still a little bit too orangey, and the Athens is a little bit more bluish. But what we can do is actually take our Kansas LUT and, you know, the temperature, move it a little bit down towards the blue. And I think I like it this way a little bit more. And even playing a little bit with the saturation to bring those, look at this, to bring those reds and oranges and especially the greens in the background. Now we have a look that I certainly like. But what's the catch of using LUTs? Because, right, I mean, if LUTs are so simple and you just smash them on your project and you start using them, they look well. Well, if you've already experienced with LUTs, you may have seen that very often the LUT does not look perfect. In fact, in most of the time, it looks terrible. Just like the thing that just happened, right? I had to tweak it because it just wasn't looking good. And this is because you probably haven't either corrected properly your shot before, or because every single shot, as I'm saying, is different, and applying a teal and orange or a Kansas LUT, in this case, on a shot outdoors with a Ferrari or another shot indoors with an old lady sitting on a chair just won't look good, right? So as I'm saying, every single project and part of those projects needs a better understanding and tweaking of everything, right? And this is why it's always good to tweak the LUTs when you apply them, or having the knowledge to do everything manually. And let's start with the two LUTs that you downloaded and how to import them. It's actually very easy. All you gotta do, you have two ways, as always. You right click on LUTs, open file location, or the wheel at the bottom right, we hit project settings, we go to color management, and right here we can hit open LUT folder. Okay, this will open up the LUT folder. It's as simple as that. All you gotta do is copy paste the two LUTs that are on my PDF and the file that you downloaded and put them in here. And again, there's ways to organize. So what I would do is create a new folder, name it Alex Assen LUTs or something like this, like I did here, and inside you can just copy paste all the LUTs. This, by the way, are all 12 of my LUTs that I use for my projects. And yeah, it just, if by any chances you want to have them all, you have the link in your PDF file. But that said, once you import them, it is very important to hit update lists, and once you update the lists, you hit save. And then, ta-da-da-da, you will have them available right here. I think this actually looks pretty good already. I like it. What we could do now, for example, I'm going to show you a few ways to copy paste this look to the rest of the clips. I must say, again, if you copy paste on the whole project, let's say, you'll be going still from frame or shot to shot, tweaking all the different shots, because I shot everything in manual, so some shots will be overexposed, some others will be too dark, etc, etc. But it's a safe start. So what we gotta do is, for example, we want to select this 5 clips. So we select the first one, we hit Shift on the keyboard, and then we select all 5 of them. I want them to have the exact same color as this one. So with the wheel of my mouse, I click on the one that I've already edited. Look at this. And all of a sudden, all my clips are color corrected and color graded the same way. But this is a problem because with the color grading, imagine that you open this project a few days later and say, you know what, I think I don't like the color grading that I did on this one. You'll have to go clip by clip, changing everything manually, or you'll have to copy paste everything again, and it's a pain, right? So there's one thing that we can do which is really interesting, and we go back to our edit tab down here. And for example, what we can do right now is create an adjustment clip. So what we're gonna do is, in our toolbox, we're gonna search adjustment clip. As you can see here, we're gonna drag an adjustment clip on top of our clips. We're gonna make it as long as all our clips, okay? And this adjustment clip, once it's created, right now it's empty, you go into the color tab again, and here it is, adjustment clip. So what you can do is do all the changes on this adjustment clip. What will this do? Well, let me show you very quick. I'll put again the color correction. I create a new node and I put my Kansas LUT, and we'll have to tweak this, as I'm saying, because it doesn't look really good right now. If we have put this on the adjustment clip, if we go back, we have the whole video color corrected and color graded the way we did on the color and adjustment clip tab, right? So this is a nice way. There is actually another way to do this if we don't have an adjustment clip. Hold on, let me go back, delete this adjustment clip, and go back to color. And you see these 2 balls right here, these 2 dots. Right now we're at the clip nodes, but we can also go to timeline nodes, which means that we can create here a bunch of nodes the same way. And right now we will be affecting the whole timeline, as you can see here, okay? So if I put another time the same on the whole entire timeline, we'll have all our clips color corrected and graded the same way. So this is nice. However, as I'm saying, this is still better than copy pasting everything to all the clips like we did before, because as I'm saying, if at some point I say, you know what, I don't like the Kansas LUT anymore, I want to use the Menorca LUT, you can just change it and voila, all of a sudden your whole project changed to the Menorca LUT, right? It's much easier, it's faster, it's better, it's everything. And this is pretty much it, guys. I told you that we would do some manual, so what we can do, let's do it with this clip, okay? Let's find if we have a nice shot somewhere here, okay? I'm gonna be again putting the color correcting LUT, sorry, this one. Okay, so this is now color corrected. I think there's a little bit of saturation still, and a little bit of saturation and contrast missing, like this. Okay, we create a second node for the color grading, and manually you see the shadow, midtones, and the highlights. Remember, we're at the log primary wheels. You can do it as well on the regular primary log wheels or color wheels. So if these are the shadows, you know, for example, the typical classic Hollywood movie style shot is teal and orange, and they go with the shadows really teal, so we can do this. Well, this would be too much. We go a little bit like this, and we go with the highlights to a more orange style. Oh, hold on, because this is super sensitive, as I'm saying. Let me try 1 sec. Yeah, we're gonna do it better with the primaries log wheels, okay? So with everything reset. By the way, I didn't tell you, all these arrows in a circular way, if you, for example, mess up everything and you have done tons of changes here and there, and it all looks rubbish, there's a way of hitting this arrow and you reset everything. And this arrow, you'll find this arrow everywhere, here and there and there. So for all the changes you do inside of DaVinci, there's this arrow to reset everything. Okay, so the shadow, let's go more into the teal look. You see how it changes? Hold on, let me close this. You see how it goes more into the blue. The shadows, this black starts looking a little bit blue. The forest, the dark parts of the forest start looking a little bit bluish. And the highlights, as I was saying, a little bit more into the teal and into the orange. Okay, this looks terrible, but still we can tweak it a little bit and it starts looking a little bit better. This is the manual way, and you can of course do it also with the curves. For example, you want to add a little bit more of contrast, and you, for example, the reds, you want more reds or less reds, you can change it and tweak it here. Look, now it starts looking like a Transformers movie, right? So this would be the manual way, but again, this may be a little bit too complicated if you're not familiar with this, if you don't understand color psychology and all that. So for now, rely on the LUTs, do the basics here and there, move a little bit the shadows and the highlights and the colors, and actually this looks pretty nice as well. And we did this manually, so you see how easy it is to do it manually as well. And yeah, well, this is it, and this was pretty much it, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed this. Of course, if you have any further questions about color correcting and grading, or for the course at all, then leave them in the questions and answer part of the Udemy course. I'm here open to wait for you, and I will be waiting for your projects. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna show you how to export and how to upload this video, this final video. But what I'll do is I'll record myself explaining very quickly and fastly, I don't know, a 20-25 seconds edit for maybe Instagram Reels or something like this, so that you can follow along, okay? And we do this together just to see how I edit, or how I would edit this, okay? So nothing really else to say, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this section. Bye bye.